Dr. Norman Swan, presenter of RN's Health Report and the ABC's Coronacast, joins us now from Sydney. Good morning to you, Norman. What did you think when you heard those numbers coming out of Melbourne?
So yes, well, here we go again was obviously everybody's reaction and a bit of heart sink given that we're coming into winter. But Victoria is in much, much better state than it was last year, where it had depleted public health resources, which were very centralised and really not fit for purpose in a contact tracing system that wasn't fit for purpose. It's now really one of the best ones in the country, and it really should be, in terms of the system and its public health facilities, it really should be able to get on top of this pretty quickly. So there's, I know there's calls for lockdown, but really the lockdown criteria are probably going to be what comes next. Do they find clusters, appearing where they don't know where they came from, mystery cases evolving where the chain of transmission is not clear? That's when they'll get a bit spooked and thinking, well, maybe we just need to lock it down for a little while to make sure we've got that under control. But at this stage, while they're just systematically going through the contacts and there are no surprises, it's just hard work, I don't think they'll move to lockdown. They don't need to.
The next day or two, Norman, will be very instructive as to what happens next, as you say. Let's talk. Yeah, go on, keep going.
Well, that's right. I mean, is it related to the man who came from South Australia? Has there been a chain of transmission in the days since then? You've got the wastewater positive, which is probably from this family, but there are a few things that need to line up.
Let's talk about vaccine hesitancy. We do know that quite a few people over the age of 50 have decided to wait for the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines later in the year. You've been very vocal about this. What can the government do? What can health authorities do to try to overcome this potentially pretty dangerous situation?
Well, it is a dangerous situation, and Victorians remember that well. Look, my view is this. Well, if you're worried about the clots, just the statistics for Australia are that imagine the MCG full, one person, and they all get immunised with Astra, one person will get a clot. And on the current data, it would be 20 MCGs for one person to die. So those are the kind of statistics. That gives you a sense of just how rare the clot is versus getting protection. Now, my view is that the Pfizer does perform a bit better than Astra, but mixing vaccines can work. My view is that what people should do now is there is no way. I mean, the government is dreaming if they think that they're going to be able to finish this by the end of the year, even if they get 2 million Pfizers in a week. 200,000 doses a day, which is a long way from where we are now, is probably the equivalent of America performing at its best. So we've got a long way to go to 200,000, much less 400,000 a day, which is probably what we need to get to finish the dosage off by the end of this year. So, and you are going to be at the end of the line behind 12-year-olds, because by then 12 to 15-year-olds will be immunised, and they should be to get herd immunity. So you're going to be at the back of a queue. It's probably going to be well into 2022 before you get the vaccine. My view is get the Astra now. It is a little bit less effective. It does work against the Indian variant, but a little bit less so than Pfizer. And that what the vaccine policy should be is that you get a Pfizer booster at the end of this year. It's going to be much easier to give over 50s a Pfizer booster at the end of this year than to go through a two-dose regime. And that will give you better immunity than 2 doses of Pfizer. And more resilience against the variants. And that's what I think people should decide. That's what I think people should do. But I can't, contain people's concerns. But it's going to be a long time before we get herd immunity, because there's no way, with the government controlling immunisation the way it does and the vaccine strategy really not working, that they're going to be able to immunise people, and you're in the back of the queue behind 12-year-olds.
Hey, Norman, I just want to talk about a story that's come up in the Wall Street Journal, some big sort of investigations into the origin of coronavirus and the connection to a Wuhan lab. What can you tell us?
So there's a group of scientists in the United States and internationally very critical of the independent investigation into the origins of the virus. I think they missed out important data. It's being reported well by journalists, Wall Street Journal, as you say. Matthew Knotts has reported on it in The Age. And this is that they can't find the bat. The Chinese have been out there looking for the bat, and the Chinese would trumpet the bat if they found it because it would take the heat off the Institute of Virology. 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, they were doing what were called gain-of-function tests. They were fiddling with the genetic structure of the coronavirus to see what would make it into a pandemic virus. There were Americans on that paper. And there's indications that virologists in the Wuhan Institute got sick in November with an illness. So there are increasing signs that the Institute of Virology may well be the source. And interesting, Professor Raina McIntyre at the University of New South Wales has always said this is a likely possibility.
Norman Swan, as always, really appreciate your insights. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.